We will now call to order at 1 p.m. the regular meeting of the Del Mar College Board of Regents. It's Tuesday, March the 4th. I'm going to do the quorum call. Dr. Babley. Here. Regent Loeb. Here. Regent Garza. Here. Dr. Adami. Here. Regent Averett. Here. Dr. Turner. Here. Regent Kelly. Here. Regent Krull. Here. I'm Carol Scott. We have a quorum and can conduct business. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Mr. Loeb, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And join us as we read our Del Mar College vision statement. Del Mar College empowers our communities to achieve their dreams. Thank you. Del Mar College is streaming live audio and video from our official Board of Regents meetings on the college's website in real time, with exception of portions of the meeting considered as closed session by statute. We now have an opportunity for general public comment. If there is anyone here to provide comment to the board on items not on our agenda, you're welcome to come forward. I don't see anyone, so we will move on to our recognitions. And we're going to start with I asked Dr. Leonard Rivera to come forward and talk to us about the Bellwether Awards and the awards that Del Mar College received. I know you've got a team that you want to recognize as part of that, Dr. Rivera.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chairman Scott. I appreciate that. So Del Mar College was recognized as a finalist in the 2025 Bellwether Awards. And we had a great team. And I'd like to call up Mr. Paul Creasy, Ms. Rachel Benavides, and Ms. Rebecca Salinas to the podium. And so we were very honored, and I'm going to have the ladies hold their awards, to be bestowed a finalist. We were a finalist in our proposal for stackable awards under our workforce development category. The Bellwether has 3 categories. One is workforce development, another one is instructional, the third is governance. And so we competed against 9 other national community colleges. And I say national, that's something that's very, very important to make that distinction, because Bellwether is a national consortium or assembly. And so we were first in Showcase. So we got our Showcase Award, Ms. Salinas has that. And the Showcase was presented to us for our outstanding display. But it's not just a display. What it is that they give us about 30 minutes to an hour to provide a sort of elevator speech. There's judges. They go around, they meet and greet you, and they engage you, ask you questions about your program, how it's beneficial, some data points. And so you might recognize or see right below this plasma screen to my left, that was one of the key points that we displayed at the Bellwether, and those are all students. These are our students that achieved the stackable credentials route. So they started either as a GED student and or started at a OSA or WSA, Occupational Skills Award or Workforce Skills Award, and they worked themselves up in some cases to a level 1 certificate, level 2 certificate, and an associate's degree. And then I would dare say some of them are actually going to go for their bachelor's degrees. So if you have a chance before you depart today, take a look at that display, and on the front end are pictures, but then those pictures are movable. So if you push them on the flip side of the picture, it'll show you exactly what credentials of value that student earned. And so again, I'm just very honored to be able to be here to have that award. And then, of course, we were a finalist in our category under workforce development. And so great team, great effort. This is really a recognition of the entire college. It's taking our faculty and our staff and everyone in between to make this possible. And so I want to parlay over to Mr. Creasy, because he's going to demonstrate per Ms. Scott's request, what he demonstrated to the Bellwether folks up in San Antonio last week. So, Mr. Creasy.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera. So 2 minutes, we can talk about the stackable credentials we have under workforce development programs here at Del Mar College. And so approximately 49% of the coastal bend do not have any education beyond high school. And so that's where the stackable credentials come from, is that we can look at the needs of the student, look at the needs of the person. And so Del Mar College is a community college, just like a good home can start as a solid foundation. And so we can build that foundation with our community members, our students, whether it's open to the general public. Many of these resources that are in a foundation are there for our community. And so depending on what the needs are of that community member or that student, we can identify which pathway that they need to take and how can we stack the credentials up in their educational plan based upon what their dreams are. So say a student only wants to come to Del Mar College to earn a Workforce Skills Award. They can come, stay for a semester, 2 semesters, earn that ICLC, and go out into the industry and begin seeking employment, begin working in the career pathway that they have chose. Adjust a few things at home, and then they can come back, right? Many of our folks will come in and do double majors, where they're working on the CE Skills Award while working on their high school diploma or GED. And so that they can complete those two together so that when they graduate high school or when they complete that GED, they can go out into the workforce. Through CE and through the GED program and our dual enrollment programs, a lot of students can actually complete a level 1 certificate before completing their high school diploma. Right? So we can stack these credentials up however the student sees fit. And so the data that we have on stackable credentials can stack all of the blocks in any order that is suitable for the student all the way up to Del Mar College Associates and Bachelor's of Applied Science degrees. A lot of our data only shows that back for going 2018, 2019 timeframe, but this has been really happening with Del Mar College as the foundation, helping students along the way for well over 25 years. There's one student that came to Del Mar College 25 years ago, got their high school diploma and their GED, went off, got their skills award, got employment in the industry, came back, completed their certificates, got their licenses in the industry, and to this day, they're working on their bachelor's degree. That student happens to be me. And so no matter what the dreams are, Del Mar College can help you to own your dreams. Oops. I lost my Legos.
Well, that's why they're soft, so that you can you can play with them. Congratulations to the team. I had the opportunity to go up and spend the morning at the awards program with the team up in San Antonio, and just want to compliment you all on the work. It is a rather unique program. The Bellwether College Consortium, if you want to search for it, is the entity, and it is actually housed at Alamo Colleges, but as Dr. Rivera said, it is a national entity. The award winners this year were from Forsyth Technical College in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Fletcher Technical Community College in Schreiber, Louisiana, and Madisonville Community College in Madisonville, Kentucky, were the 3 different category award winners this year. So it's a great opportunity for us to showcase what we're doing, but in a very collegial manner for the teams to learn what other community colleges are doing around the nation as well. So congratulations, team, and thanks for bringing the display and your program forward. It was great to see you all. Thank you. Now we get the thrill of hearing or meeting some of our students that were selected to the Texas Two-Year College All-State Choir and All-State Band at the recent TMEA conference.
Madam Chair, Regents, Dr. Escamilla, we are so proud of our music students and our faculty. Last night they had a great event where they unveiled the Wall of Honor. But today I want to recognize students who auditioned and were selected to play in the Texas Community College Band Directors Association All-State Wind Symphony, and those students who participated in the Texas Two-Year College Choral Directors Association. And this happened on February 15th at the Harry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in San Antonio, and I'd like to ask the students and their faculty mentors to come forward so you can see who they are. The following students were in the All-State Wind Symphony, and you might want to raise your hand when I call your name. Stephen Bray, clarinet. Is Stephen here? No? Oh, I'm sorry. Stephanie Bray. Oh, okay, sorry. Ben Aldana, trombone. David Hernandez, euphonium. Michael Hinojosa, clarinet. Stephen Garcia, trumpet. Jason Prado, tuba. Angel Garza, flute. Rufino Medado, he isn't here today, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. He was our 2025 concerto competition winner and featured tuba soloist, and that's a big deal. But you know where he is today? New York City, auditioning at Juilliard. So we wish him the best. These students recorded and submitted their audition material through an audition portal provided by TMEA. Now, I understand Paul Bissell, our SRT instructor or professor, helped in the recordings, and they had to send those in, so not everybody gets accepted into the Wind Symphony. So they had a judging panel that judged those auditions, and then also they had many rehearsals with other students from throughout the state of Texas. Now, the students were mentored through the audition process by Dr. Abel Ramirez, and Donnie Penson, and Bill Lippman, Dr. Danny Miller, and Joy Carries. And they all did a wonderful job of mentoring our students. But we also want to congratulate the following students who participated in the 2-year College Choral Directors Association All-State Choir. And we have Aliyah Abba, Paige Dwyer, Caitlin Edwards, Rolando Esquivel, Eva Gallagher, Trinity Machaca, Kennedy Maureen, and Christian Ryder. The students began rehearsing the audition repertoire under the direction of DMC faculty Dr. Mira Lee, she's there at the end, as soon as the fall semester began, and auditioned at Northwest Vista College in November. Students were selected based on preparation, correct intonation, rhythm, and diction. And these students are voice students of faculty Dr. Rafael Rada and Professor Cynthia Longoria, who is also chair of the music department. I'd like you to please join me in congratulating these fine students and their faculty members.
We thank you all for spending part of your day with us. We really appreciate seeing our outstanding students in person, so thank you for that. I want to do a little poll here. How many in the room were in band or choir when you were in high school? That's right.
How many of you were not allowed?
Thank you, Dr. Halcomb, for bringing those students to meet us today. We really appreciate it.
I ended up in wood shop, but we're good.
There you go. All right, we are going to move on to our college president's report. Dr. Escamilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My previous statements were somewhat factual, mostly. Anyway, a quick report. On February 18th, I attended our Texas Association of Community Colleges CEO monthly call. We continue to make monthly calls and stay in close contact with the association leadership, and obviously in the legislative session, that's absolutely critical. That, along with other phone calls, sounding board committee calls with the Commissioner of Higher Ed and so forth, just is set at a pace everything's evolving quickly with the legislative session. So I just want you to know that I have close contact with them, and information that continues to come out. I will work for a more comprehensive report with Dr. Villarreal for a future update, in addition to what she's going to present very soon. Secondarily, on the 19th through the 12th, I also attended the National Legislative Summit in conjunction with the the Association of Community College Trustees, ACCT. And I attended along with our chair, Carol Scott, Nantha Babali, and our general counsel, Augie Ureta. That completes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Escamilla.
Certainly.
So continuing on the Regents report, Dr. Babley and I will do a tag team on the NLS. We were fortunate as a Texas delegation to be able to meet with Senator Cornyn, and I'm going to let Augie and Dr. Babley report on that because they were the ones who were actually able to attend that meeting in person because Dr. Escamilla and I had a conflicting meeting with Representative Cloud's office, so we divided and conquered while we were in D.C. That's the way you do it. And so we're able to talk to Representative Cloud's office about our legislative priorities. We do have copies of those available. Delia can get those for you. We have the community college legislative priorities. What's in green, we call it the green sheet, but we printed them in regular paper for our representatives and senators. And the college has also prepared a impact of federal dollars at our campus. So ACCT likes us to fill out these numbers on the different programs and their impact at Del Mar College. So as you're talking to a senator or representative, you can talk specifically about your college. So I'm going to ask Delia to send those to you all so that you can see those numbers and have them as a part of your files. The other thing that I wanted to pass on to you is the little sign up for the different action and alert publications by ACCT. They're now doing a weekly law alert, and with things happening rapidly in D.C., I think it's very helpful for all of us to stay abreast of what's happening from a legal standpoint. There is an action center, an ACCT advocacy action network. And then there's also a congressional contact form if you ever have interaction with your congressman and want to report that to ACCT. But on the left-hand side of this page are the two QR codes for the Law Alert and for the Action Center. So I'm going to pass that around, and if you're interested, just buzz it with your phone, and you can sign up for those Law Alerts if you would like to. I'm now going to pass it over to Dr. Babali, who, in addition to attending the Legislative Summit meetings, was also in meetings for the India-U.S. Workforce Development Coalition. So I'm going to ask him to report on both of those things, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fellow Regents and colleagues from Del Mar College and friends. So I represented our Regents at two levels in Washington at the Legislative Summit. I was appointed to the ACCT Finance and Audit Committee, which took a better part of the first day in our meetings. And so I'm learning, since it's my first 2 years on this body, how ACCT works and how they set the priorities for legislative action. So one of the things, there are four things which I noticed. First is that they were encouraging funding workforce development as a national priority for community colleges. And by the way, whenever I go to these sessions, I always think that Del Mar College is a step ahead of what was being discussed. And I think that's a testament to the leadership. Mark and Carol and all of you, wonderful management here. I'm going, been there, done that, but they're all taking notes like, yeah, that's a great concept, and I'm going, it's an old concept in Corpus Christi. So funding workforce development and changing student tax policy, because the Pell Grants, I didn't know Pell Grants are taxed. Students pay tax on Pell Grants, That's a strange way of giving with one hand, taking back another. But so that's one of the legislative changes they were planning to do. And then the other one is strengthening accountability and transparency of colleges, community colleges, and also at ACCT itself. And the other one I noticed is support for dreamers kept coming up all throughout the discussion on Finance Committee. So those are the four which, and I was able to contribute my views on these matters. Then the other level, of course, where Augie and I were able to meet Senator Cornyn, and incredibly, he's a good listener, and listen to our concerns on federal funding and Pell Grants, and Augie, of course, hit a personal note. He has a personal, Senator Cornyn has a personal connection to Del Mar College, which Augie will probably talk about it in a minute. And so then I also moved on to the ACCT Global Education Initiative. I think this is the first time they launched a very concerted effort on knowing what other community colleges in other countries do, so that we can learn and contribute in a global partnership. So the first major initiative came through Cognizant Philanthropies, an IT company based out of India, but major presence in the United States. So they funded the initial phase of this partnership between two largest democracies in the world, India and US. And basically they were looking at how do students and faculty find some common elements that will launch into the future, basically what will happen 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and how students can be prepared for that. So several areas like cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, data analysis, sustainability, and entrepreneurship, all these phases, all these areas of study came into our community discussions. And I found myself also as part of the lead because I was the only one who was experienced both in the Indian side and the US side, although there were a couple of community college presidents in this country who have Indian origin, and they were also helping this initiative. So 2 colleges from the US and 2 from India were selected. And this month, ACCT representatives and these 2 colleges, Pierce College in Washington and Warwick College in Maryland, their leadership are now visiting India this month to link up and sign formal partnerships with each other, to exchange students, to learn from each other. Short, steady programs, 2-week, 3-week programs, both for faculty and for students. So we decided in the next phase would be to identify other colleges with specific programs of excellence that may be tied to fellow colleges on the other side of the ocean, with Indian colleges having similar programs being discussed. Global health is one of the initiatives in this program. So Del Mar College was being mentioned in the context of nursing program, the degree program here. And Mother Teresa College of Nursing in India shown interest in looking at each other's programs to see how we can learn more about pandemics, how we treat emergency situations. So these things are coming up. So stay tuned for further developments in this area. And it's an exciting international global issue that we would like to keep in touch with. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Dr. Babley. And then Mr. Loeb and Dr. Babley were able to also attend the Board of Trustees Institute in Austin. David, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll be brief. I don't usually go with the trustees, but I was honored to go to the ACCT Legislative Summit this year, given what's going on in D.C. There were lots of programming that had to do with all of the recent executive orders that were issued by the new administration that may have an impact on us directly. There's also an community college attorney roundtable, and I was invited to facilitate a discussion. Ali, you'll be happy to know I didn't hurt myself, but it was on AI. And so we were able to spend a couple of hours talking about that. But I accompanied Dr. Babley to the meeting with John Cornyn. Senator Cornyn is very gracious, and he came in and he addressed a crowd of about 100 community college trustees from Texas. It was just the Texas delegation. And he walks in, and the first person he shakes hands and meets is Dr. Babley. And so I went up and also introduced myself as being the general counsel from Del Mar College. And he starts speaking, and you'll be happy to know that Senator Cornyn's first words were, "I'm a big supporter of community colleges because of two things. You all are affordable and you're relevant. You provide relevant education to students." And then he proceeded to give a list of other positives as to why he's a community college fan. One of them was dual credit. He's a big fan of dual credit. Where else can you go to school and get your college degree or earn college credit while still living at home? So he's a big fan of community colleges. And as he's wrapping up his remarks, and this is why I asked for the personal privilege, because I think everybody will enjoy this. He's wrapping up his remarks. He says, "My father was a World War II bomber out of England, and he flew 25 missions before being shot down on his 26th. And he was taken a prisoner of war, and then he was let go eventually. He made his way back to the United States, and he was able to take advantage of the GI Bill, and he went back to school. And he became a dentist. Actually, he was an oral pathologist, which is a highly specialized niche within dentistry. And he had a great life, all because of the GI Bill and because it let him go to Del Mar College." So he said he went on to Del Mar College and then graduated from there and went on to the University of Texas, where he got his credentials and went on. But so apparently Senator Cornyn has a personal connection to Del Mar College and the Coastal Bend. I think they may have lived in Robstown for a while. But Dr. Babley and I, we were cheering like crazy when he said Del Mar College, and you could tell that that meant a lot to Senator Cornyn. So thank you for letting me share that, Carol.
Absolutely. Thank you. Now, on to the Board of Trustees Institute. Regent Loeb, and then back to Dr. Babley.
So I think it was very fruitful, and I would echo what Dr. Babley said. Was there's a general sense that we are a step or two ahead of a lot of the other schools. I think a lot of them are still trying to wrap their heads around how to do workforce education. I brought up what we were planning to do this morning and got shocked faces from even people who've already done a promise program that we were capable of doing that. And I think in a lot of ways it is because we have done workforce, and so when HB 8 came out, we were already reaping the benefits of that, and that improved our financial position. There was a lot of discussion about barriers to entry and students not feeling like they belong. There were a couple of stories of students from other schools who, they pulled up in front of the school several times before they could work up the courage to go in, and how successful they were. But there was a conversation about, well, for every one of those, there's 1 to a dozen that pull up and then don't come in. And so I think, especially in regards to what we did this morning, in order to make it successful, we have to continue to work on making sure that everyone feels welcome. We did some strategic planning type analysis, and one of the things that our group really said was that a huge advantage of our school is that our student body matches the population, which is not true of most colleges and most places. And so I think we just have to make sure that we build on that. There was a conversation with the higher ed commissioner. He came, he got some questions about how we can pay or how we can make up for our service areas not matching our taxing districts. We are concerned about it. I heard a story, it's a huge issue for the smaller colleges that surround growing metropolitan areas. For instance, one of our neighboring schools outside of Houston, 80% of their student body is not in their tax district because they include Fort Bend County. And so I think that will be a continuing issue of discussion. He was not really thrilled with the idea of it, but I think he accepted the fact that that's still an issue for a lot of us. He talked a lot about the need for workforce education and for focusing on credentials value, and had some good data that showed differences in income levels throughout the state. But I think overall it was really great. I remarked about how wonderful the presentation was. A lot of it was just reinforcing what we already do in terms of strategic planning and having board workshops and allowing our staff to do their work absent micromanagement. But it helped reinforce how important that process and how important our shared governance process is to having a functional organization. So I really appreciated going, and I hope everybody else gets the chance to go in future years. So.
Interesting sessions on the importance of good relationship between trustees and CEO. So again, we found Del Mar is a step ahead of that. But I did not really realize how many community colleges are having the troubled relationship between Regents and the CEO. And we are fortunate, in my opinion, that we have a great working relationship and shared vision and excitement for the future. I really appreciate our leadership on that. So a new word in English language, futuring. As a journalism prof, I felt like screaming. I said, futuring? I said, okay, that means think about the future. Okay, why don't you say thinking about the future? Futuring, and I'm going, okay, futuring about HB 8 outcomes. And I'm going, okay, that's a good way of saying. So that's one of the sessions that we talked about how to think about and how to conceptualize the HB 8 outcomes. That I came away with one of those. And team strategy on strategic planning. We already did, been there, done that, right? I mean, it's like, that was a really nice way of realizing that we are ahead of that. And a strategic governance for growth and innovation. Again, I thought Del Mar College was ahead. We are innovating, we are strategically thinking about growth and new decisions. Again, on tuition today, this morning, we talked about. So we are a step ahead, and what David mentioned in a public setting that we are thinking of free tuition. We are discussing those things. Everybody was really impressed with how Del Mar is already ahead on these discussions. So we came out, learning quite a bit. At the same time, proud that we have already on track on many things. So thank you very much.
Thank you both for attending. I like the Board of Trustees Institute. The Texas Success Center, through grant funding, is able to offer the registration fees, the content, and the hotel for up to 2 regents, and then for staff members to attend as well. So it is a great investment from the philanthropic community and the philanthropic foundations across Texas to support regent education in the state. So appreciate y'all being able to go and represent Del Mar.
Thank you, Dr. Patricia, for joining the
Yes.
team. Appreciate you bringing your very valuable expertise and covering my bases on that one. Appreciate that.
Oh, yes. I want to thank both Patricia and Delia for being there.
Miss
and
Delia,
giving us
too.
all they were feeding us with all the latest about Del Mar, and so, we had
So-
nice discussion.
So I have to add something. Since you couldn't be there, you went ahead and filled out the form and gave it to Delia. It was me who said that you don't get to participate if you're not there. So the way we use that is we answered the questions ourselves, and then we looked at yours to see if there was anything to add. And we did add some stuff because from your sheet, but we didn't let you puppet master the
No, I wasn't trying
conversation
to.
from the fly.
I was trying to do it. I was trying to do what my dear colleague and friend, Dr. Martha Ellis, said. Okay, I do what Martha says.
Okay.
Thank you all. Those are good reports. All right, we'll move on to staff reports now, and Dr. Villarreal is going to give us our legislative update.
Good afternoon, Dr. Escamilla, Madam Chair, Regents. So I think this whole meeting so far has really shown the importance of the advocacy work that everybody does, from our staff to our board members here, and also the work we're doing and the importance of House Bill 8 and our state and federal work. So what I would like to do today is just give you a high overview of what we're doing and thinking about and prioritizing, because everybody here is already doing the day-to-day advocacy work in so many forms. So in January, we had over 50 Del Mar College students, and then about 20 faculty and staff members who attended Community College Day. Overall, there were over 800 students who represented community colleges. So I want to thank all of our students and our staff who attended. It was a wonderful showing of the unity of community colleges here in the state of Texas. And it was just a lot of fun to see the students engage with our delegation and to ask some really great questions. Some of them had never been to the Capitol before. So it was a really exciting day. And then, of course, y'all have talked about your advocacy work in DC at ACCT. And then also we had a small team, about 4 or 5 staff members who went with the United Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce. And also we teamed up with Texas A&M Corpus Christi and went and had several strategic meetings with legislators and staff at the Capitol, again, talking about the importance of the collaborations that we do with the 4 years, which was really important. Because things change day to day right now with legislation, the slide is very basic, and I'm just, again, going to give you some high-level points. Starting at the federal level, yesterday, Ms. Linda McMahon was named as the new Secretary of Education. Of course, one of the things that we've heard, but again, as of right now, it is speculation. So I want to make sure that anything that we talk about is really fact, because there's so many things that are being said that are going to happen or might happen, but until we have concrete evidence or something is formally put into law, we want to be very careful about what we talk about. And so we do know that there is the speculation that the president is going to sign an executive order to abolish the Department of Education. That speculation has been happening since y'all were in DC, so that still hasn't happened yet. But we do know that part of Ms. McMahon's responsibility could possibly be to return the responsibilities of the Department of Education, relinquish them over to the state. So just know that under our General Counsel, Mr. Rivera, we are watching all communication from the White House very closely. And just to give you an idea with the Department of Education, it really has 2 main priorities. Number 1 is the policy making that really supports promoting student success for all students in the United States. So that is really key. But the second piece of the Department of Education is financial. So in regards to managing federal dollars, making sure that all students have the opportunity for grants and loans, those are really the 2 main functions. And I'll just give you an example. For fiscal year 2024, the Department of Ed spent $268 billion. And the highest spending division was the Office of Student Financial Aid. So in terms of financing, that's what we're talking about, what the Department of Education is responsible for. So again, we will continue to keep you updated on those and communicate things as they happen and are confirmed. Does anybody have any questions on the federal legislation?
A quick question,
Yes, sir.
perhaps a comment. Were you going to? Well, is it, have we substantiated the, I don't want to say rumor, but the information that's out there suggesting that the financial part of the DOE is going to the Treasury Department? Is that accurate? Do we know yet, or is that
I
just?
don't, again, it's
Still-
being talked about,
Yes.
but there haven't been any specific moves. I'm assuming that once Ms. McMahon comes in, they
Yeah.
will start making some pretty big announcements here soon. And
Okay.
so we can decide how we want to continue to communicate that in between board meetings, because I think things are going to move pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, my question is more for those of you who went to DC and talked to our representatives and Senator Cornyn and Representative Cloud, and that is, I appreciate and very much agree with your caution that we need to stay in what is actual fact and what we know, and not just reports. But is it being talked about with our representatives and our senators with some sense of urgency that we have concerns about what we're hearing in terms of potential changes with the DOE and other potential federal funding?
We did not personally meet with Representative Cloud. We met with members of his staff as well as Senator Cruz. We met with staff members there as well. And so they're not going to commit anything on behalf of their boss. They're going to listen, and we did talk about the number of Pell Grant students and how Pell Grants are used in Corpus Christi and what we do with them and how, and we did talk about with both of them, Texas colleges as a sector are outperforming on our outcomes-based funding. So we spent a lot of time talking about the outcomes and what you get from community colleges. I don't know if Senator Cornyn made any specific reference to policy, but we did not. I did not hear that directly. From the association standpoint, yes, they are working directly with White House staff members and both Senate and House health, education, labor, and pensions, as well as on the Senate side, I forgot the name of the committee in the Senate side. So they are working directly with committee staff and expressing the voice of trustees at the level. But there's a lot of decisions that are happening not at the congressional level, but at the White House level. So did Cornyn say anything different?
No, and in fact, a representative, I forget the trustee from South Texas College actually got up and began the session by going through the list of legislative priorities that ACCT was concerned about. And Senator Cornyn acknowledged them, but then went on to talk about the positives that he saw without committing one way or another. But deeper than that, I'm not sure.
Thank you. So moving on to the state legislative session, that has kicked off, and we still are in some pretty preliminary parts of the session. They have not started passing legislation just yet, but they are working on the governor's priorities. And so in terms of our 50 community colleges, just to give you an idea, TAC and CAT, the priorities that we follow with them, that is overseeing 700,000 students, community college students here in the state of Texas. So I think it's something that we do not take lightly. We take very seriously when we're talking to our legislators. And I do want to point out the staff members, because a lot of time the staffers are the people who are conducting the analysis, they're putting together the information, and they're presenting it to the legislators. So I think any opportunity that we have, whether it's to talk to a staff member or to one of the legislators themselves, are equally important. And so for right now, for our Del Mar College focus, we have new legislators. We have Senator Adam Hinojosa and Representative Denise Villalobos. So a lot of our time is really spent communicating with them and really helping them to understand House Bill 8 that was passed last session, and then talk about the new ideas that are coming so that they can get a better understanding as they start hearing about it. And again, helping them to understand what our appropriations are and focusing on that. And so, again, we're continuing with the TAC and the CAT legislation. And in fact, today, the House committee the Higher Ed House Committee had a hearing, and Dr. Kays, president of Kilgore College, represented the community colleges, and she said, I quote, she said, House Bill 8 created the policy framework to ensure that our colleges are nimble, responsive, and aligned with workforce needs. And if you hear the things coming out from Bellwether, right? If you hear the stackable credentials, everything that we're doing with the tuition waiver, all of these things are really closely tied into our strategic plan, which covers House Bill 8. And so what the main focus has been right now that we've been spending the last 3 weeks about is really House Bill 8 and the cleanup bill, right? So we had House Bill 8 a session ago. So now it's starting to get into the details and kind of maneuver and structure things so it gets better and better for our community colleges. So some of the things that came up, Chair Scott mentioned, the transfer to ICUT colleges. There are currently 41 colleges in the state of Texas that are private and nonprofit colleges and universities. So it's going to be key that we get appropriations for students who are transferring to those institutions. Some technical changes in the wording for FAST has come up as well. Again, very minor details, but important as we continue. And then also the number one thing that we've been talking about for the past week and a half are credentials of value. Because that is such a detailed and nuanced piece, it tends to get a little confusing. So for the past couple of weeks, we've been working on ensuring that our legislators understand what a credential of value is and how that in turn affects our appropriations. And I think, Ms. Bettis, did you pass out? You've got a couple of sheets that came yesterday from the coordinating board. So one is specifically on the credentials of value and explaining that. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And then also the cleanup bills, which are House Bill 2110 and then the Senate bill filed by Senator Creighton. So those two sheets explain that for you as well. So there's a lot of general bills out there that are hitting things like artificial intelligence, AI, redefining resident status for students in the state of Texas, and also taxing districts. And so again, I'd like to keep today very general. Next time when I come in, a lot of the bills will have moved, and we'll know at that point if those bills we need to focus on and start talking to our legislators, or if they're bills that really aren't going to gain momentum, so we won't waste too much time on them.
I have a comment and a question. The comment is we are in alignment with the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. And so the work that the commissioner is doing and these nuanced discussions on the credentials of value, for example, and making sure that the private institutions are included in the transfer credit, all of those things are done in lockstep with the coordinating board and the Commissioner for Higher Education. So it's a wonderful position to be in that we're all advocating for the same thing with that policymaker. My question is about the supplemental appropriations bill. So there's a cleanup bill that the Texas legislature does to reconcile things from the current biennium before it ends on August 30th, before the fiscal year ends, and then they budget for then the next biennium. And so our supplemental appropriations bill ask is at what number?
That one is at $89 million?
$89 million, and just a month and a half ago, we thought it was about half of that. So the coordinating board, in their final resolution or their final request to the legislature for that reconciliation is almost double what we thought it was going to be, which again, the headline out of that is that we are outperforming as a sector. We are doing better than they thought we were going to do from the outcomes-based funding standpoint, which is, I think, a fabulous place to be. So congratulations, us.
Congratulations, everybody. And the fact that now we are receiving appropriations for almost everything that we do. Not quite. And there's still some areas at the college that we're working on and fine-tuning and see if we can get success points for that. But it really has been a testament to how well the community colleges have done. So this is a really good problem to have, and that we need more money. So that's really what we're asking the legislature, is that if they can level up for 25, but then continuing in the next 2 years to really help that model continue to grow so that we can continue earning those appropriations that we deserve.
Regent Loeb, you have a question?
Well, I just had a comment. We made very good friends with the Vice Chancellor of Houston Community College because We made the comment about how we had wished that we had been put in the same bucket as them on what the high demand fields were. Apparently what happened to them was they knocked out 85% of their nursing entry majors, where they weren't getting, just like we weren't getting paid for welding, they weren't getting paid for a bunch of their biology, because they have a huge diversity of those programs because they have more diversity in how people specialize. And so apparently whoever did that didn't understand that. So that's a big issue for them. I also wanted to add, Senate Bill 1191 is by Senator Creighton, and that's the one that covers making sure that dual credit and all advanced classes get the same. I sent a note to him because it didn't come up, but part of our issue in expanding dual enrollment is we have a school district that doesn't allow summer programs to get bonus points, and so that bill would prevent it. And so I did send a note to him saying, I don't know if you knew this when you wrote it, but it helped solve a big problem for us. But also, just a statistic, dual credit rose fall of 23 to 24, equivalent to 13,000. Dual credit at community colleges is equivalent to 13,000 full-time students. That's how big of an increase there was statewide. So it was as if we added a regional state university without anybody building, and I think it cost the state about $11 million. So that's worth it. So.
Well, thank you. And we did have a meeting last week with Senator Creighton's Higher Education Committee. Again, we did talk about 1191, but the credentials of values piece under House Bill 8 is really what's taking up the most of our time right now, because we want to ensure that they get that right this time, because that's a detail that's already being questioned that we want to make sure everybody understands. But we will reiterate 1191 as well. Thank you.
Other questions for Natalie? Thank you.
Thank you.
As part of our regular reports, Mr. Garcia talks to us on a regular basis about property tax collections. We're going to invite him up to present that report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so the college has historically monitored external factors to identify risks to our property tax revenue. This includes property tax collections, property valuations, legislative changes, and property tax litigations and appeals. We will in short order go over these various factors. We will also take a closer look at these factors. The college will continue to keep the board informed of any changes that happens from now until we submit our budget to the board for the approval in August. So the next slide explains why we monitor the underpinnings to our property tax revenue, and it also describes the funding strategies used by Texas Public Community Colleges. Texas Public Community Colleges depend at varying degrees on property taxes, tuition and fees, and state performance funding. Property tax revenue is a major source of funding for 20 community colleges, including Del Mar. Property taxes at Del Mar College accounts for 62% of the three combined funding sources. On the other side of the funding spectrums are 12 community colleges who are heavily dependent on state funding. Glenn College is the anomaly whereby tuition and fees is their major source of funding. The remaining Texas public community colleges fall into any one of the two remaining categories listed on this slide. So we will next go over a number of factors the colleges is monitoring to identify potential risks to our property tax revenue based on the following factors. Based on the following factors that will be presented, nothing of a material nature has come to our attention that would suggest an immediate threat to our property tax revenue. Since 2020, the single-family home category has been a major funding source for the college. This category represents 48% of the total property valuations in 2024, and it has scaled up from the reported lows in 2020 of $12.4 million to a new high in 2024 of $19 billion. During the same period, the change in property valuation for industry was negligible, remaining at around $6.5 billion. Next point, property valuations had been steady through the end of 2020. However, the district experienced an unusual spike in 2023 with property valuations peaking at $41 billion for a year-over-year increase of 20%. This resulted in an elevated number of valuation protests. Most concerning were the valuation protests from certain petrochemical companies in our districts. These were settled in 2024, resulting in part to the decline in property valuations landing at $39.4 billion in 2024. But despite this decline, the college was able to get back to some type of normal to secure the necessary funding for our fiscal year 2025 budget plan. Since single-family homes is the largest category in our district, we will next go over the activity affecting this category. So the college monitors mortgage interest paired with other factors included in this slide, again, to identify potential downward pressures to our property tax revenue. The speed by which mortgage interest rates increased from 2021 to 2023 appears to have resulted in a slowdown of activity in single-family homes asset category. As reported by Freddie Mac, the 30-year fixed mortgage interest rates increased from the lows of 3.1% in 2020 to 6.61% in 2023. Mortgage interest continued to increase at a moderate pace in 2024, but did not trigger further reduction in activity. On a year-over-year basis for the period ending 2024, sales transactions and dollar volume of sales has remained relatively flat at around 4,005 and 1.6 billion respectively. In addition, the number of single-family resident permits issued and the new number of listings reversed course on a year-over-year basis, rising to new levels of 1,158 and 7,568 respectively. So next, I'm going to invite Ms. Landrum, who will go over trending property tax collections, litigations, and protests.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Regents, Dr. Escamilla. So now we're going to discuss our property tax collection rates. So if you remember last year, we discussed two different collection rates. We talked about the tax office collection rate, which is based on the total assessed value and only considers the exemptions. And then we talked about our collection rate, which is based on our budget. And we consider any lawsuits, protests, TIFs, or any penalty and interest that we may receive during the year. So this year, we're going to focus on our collection rate based on what we budgeted. So we start receiving our property tax deposits in October for the new tax year, and really we've received deposits all year long, but January and February are the 2 months that we receive the majority of our property tax revenue. So as you can see in this graph, as of the end of January, we had collected 71.2% of what we budgeted, compared to last year at 74.5%. So over the last 6 years, we typically range anywhere from 68 to 75% on our collection compared to what we budgeted. Now, I did get my final report yesterday, so I can tell you that as of the end of February, our collection rate is 98.2%, compared to 98.0% last year. So we typically collect that last 2% over the next 6 months. Do we have any questions? Okay. So this next slide illustrates our property tax revenue amounts that we have collected this year compared to last year. So you can see for this year, at the end of January, we had collected $68.2 million. Compared to last year, we had collected $63.9 million. For February, I can tell you that we have collected $94,094,574 out of that $95.8 million that we budgeted for fiscal year '25. So we only have about $1.7 million left to collect over the next 6 months. Do we have any questions? Okay. So a few slides back, Mr. Garcia was talking about our taxable property valuation and how they fluctuated over the last few years. So for tax year 2022 to 2023, we saw that 20% increase in our property valuations, but we also saw a 37.5% increase in the number of appeals that were filed that year. So from 23 to 24, we saw that 4% decrease in our taxable property valuations, and the number of appeals that were filed decreased by 9%. So the number of appeals on residential property decreased by 11%, and the number of appeals for industrial properties decreased by 22%. So you can see in this graph, as our property valuations fluctuate, so do the number of appeals. Additional factors that could have contributed to the decrease in the number of appeals filed from 23-24 could have been that circuit breaker that went into effect for tax year 24, which sets limits on the amount of the annual increases to the appraised value of real property that is not a residential homestead. Are there any questions? Okay. So as valuation appeals decreased, the number of lawsuits kind of leveled out. So the number of lawsuits from 25 compared to 24 only increased 1.2%. And then the number of lawsuits resolved increased by 17.5%. So as fewer lawsuits were filed and more were resolved, the number of lawsuits pending decreased by 19.9%. So again, you can see how those property valuations fluctuate, so do the number of lawsuits and pending lawsuits. And that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Comments or questions for Jackie? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. All right. Our pending business list is included in your packet. We'll have quarterly financial and investment reports next month. We'll have an internal audit report next month, as well as our enrollment update. Any questions on pending item list? If not, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have approval of minutes, 3 different items: approval of minutes, acceptance of investments, and acceptance of financials. Is there any item that needs to be removed for further consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Mr. Crewell makes that motion. Is there a second? Dr. Babley seconds. Any discussion on that motion? Is there any public comment on the motion to approve the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. All right, we are going to table regular agenda item number 4, and so we're going to move on to agenda item number 5.
Madam Chair, Regents, Dr. Escamilla. So agenda item number 5. So in accordance with the Texas Education Code, section 130.066, automatic annexation of certain territories, as the city of Corpus Christi annexes property, then Delmar College may also annex the property. So on February 18th, 2025, the city of Corpus Christi approved an ordinance annexing a 63.239 acre tract of land located along the east side of County Road 33, London Pirate Road, north of FM 43, Weber Road, and abutting the south side of the Oso Creek per owner petition, approving the related surface plan, adding the annexed area to the City Council District 3, and rezoning from the FR Farm Rural District to the RS 4.5 Single Family District 4.5. Recommendation to proceed with this annexation.
Thank you, Mr. Strybell. Is there any questions? Is there a motion to approve as recommended? So Mr. Garza makes that motion. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Babley. Any discussion on this motion? There's discussion, but not on the motion. There we go. We had a sidebar over there. Is there any public comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the adoption of item number 5, please raise your hand. All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Mr. Strybos, item number 6.
Item number 6 is similar. This is another annexation. In this case, on February 11th, 2025, the City of Corpus Christi approved an ordinance annexing and rezoning land owned by Anil C. and Vandana A. Patel for the Padma Estates subdivision, a 19.2 acre tract located along the north side of FM 2444, east of County Road 43, and west of County Road 41, Gilead Road. Per on petition, approving the related surface plan, adding the annexed area to the City Council District 5, and rezoning the 19.2 acres from the FR Farm Rural District to the RS22 Single Family 22 District. Recommending approval with this annexation.
Thank you, Mr. Strybos. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to adopt as presented? Dr. Babley makes the motion. Mr. Kelly makes that second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor of adoption of item number 6, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Item number 7, we're getting...
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'll bring this up again. As the city and we continue to annex areas within the London School District, again, is there any conversation at all about annexing the whole London School District into the Del Mar boundaries? Because, I mean, it's going to get, these continue, and you're going to have Billy over here, who's inside the city limits, who are inside Del Mar's property, and he's going to get advantageous of being in the district. And Johnny, who sits right next to him, lives outside of the Del Mar district.
Dr. Escamilla, why don't you initiate that conversation and see if we can potentially maybe have a meeting with the school board or the superintendent or the chairs of the boards or something, and maybe initiate that discussion, do some research in that regard.
We've already begun that conversation with Dr. Chapman. Had lunch with him weeks back, and we all know that that's the situation. I will advance it.
Well, I think it'd be fair to all of the students in the London district if they were all
Absolutely.
Inside of the Del Mar boundaries.
For many reasons, you are absolutely right, and we could not agree more.
Okay.
There has been some discussion, particularly on the development side, that they would like the area brought in holistically, but I think we were kind of waiting for this to pass before that went forward.
Yeah, this really heightens the level of the importance of the whole thing. It's but again, I'll call Dr. Chapman.
Well, there's 3 or 4 more developments that are in the wings for annexation by the city.
Yeah.
Very large one coming up.
Yeah, it's about 300 acres.
Yes, we're very aware of that. We'll be bringing that forth, that information forth with as soon as we know more to round out that conversation. So we have been brought into those conversations as well.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Kroll.
Yeah.
All right, item number 7, Mr. Strybos.
So we've been working for 2 years now on the State Energy Conservation Office Utility Cost Reduction Measures loan. We finally have the final loan agreement from SECO, and you have the loan details now. They weren't ready at the time we were trying the agenda, but you have to see them. So the core parts on the loan, it's a $6 million loan. Interest rate is 2.5% per annum. The loan term is 11 years, and that's tied into the life of the equipment, and that's the payback life. That's not the actual life of the equipment. It's 15 to 20-year life. The effective date becomes the first date of the disbursement. This is a reimbursement. They're not giving us a check for $6 million. They're going to spend the money and then submit for reimbursement, and they reimburse us. And so the loan starts at that first reimbursement date. And the loan termination ends upon the loan repayment in full. The The estimated loan repayments, and that's using the $6 million, 11 years for 2.5%, is approximately $624,452 per year, and that will be funded from the operating budget based on the utility cost reductions. And the projects that are funded with this project, we still have a lot of fluorescent light bulbs around, and we'd replace them with LED light bulbs. Our energy management system upgrade system, chiller replacement at the Heritage Campus, chiller replacement here for this building, and additional enhanced commissioning. And enhanced commissioning is making sure our systems are working the right way. And so the total payback on those is estimated 11 years, and that ties into the basis for the repayment of the loan. And the specific loan repayment that, and this comes straight from SECO, the final loan repayment schedule will be sent to the borrower after construction has been completed and the borrower's final report is accepted by lender and SECO. The outstanding loan balance on the loan repayment schedule shall be the principal plus accrued interest due as of the first payment due on the loan. The loan repayment term is equal to the project simple payback shown above, which is at 11 years. Questions?
Mr. Lowe has a question.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, comment, has a comment.
We kind of talked about this in general terms during our facility plan, but this is kind of the first thing that comes back to us, and this is, we're basically able to replace these systems rather than going out for a bond. We're able to pay for them by the savings. I can tell you getting rid of the fluorescent light bulbs is going to save us a ton of labor too. I used to have a guy whose full-time job it was to change them in office buildings, and we have a lot more space than I do. So, no, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? So staff recommendation is to authorize administration to negotiate with SECO for the SECO Lone Star loan and report to the board the specific loan details, which are reported here. So we just need a motion to authorize administration to negotiate that.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. That was Mr. Kelly, and second by Mr. Loeb. Mr. Garza, who said it? Mr. Loeb. Any questions on the motion? Is there public comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Strapos. So I apologize to the board on item number 8. We were supposed to reconstitute our committees in January or February, but it's March and, sorry. We, at this time, that's right. We don't have, the board has not discussed any other additional committees, and so just because at this point in time we don't have additional committees, doesn't mean we can't in the future if we choose to do so. But the standing committee that we have is the audit committee. We agreed a couple of years ago to keep that going. So with the board's permission, we're going to name that audit committee today. But what I would like a motion to state that at this time the audit committee is established and no other board committees. Is there a motion to that effect? Dr. Babley, is there a second? Second by Ms. Avert. Is there a question? Is there any public comment on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. In terms of appointments to the audit committee, Mr. Garza has agreed to continue as chair. Mr. Krull has agreed to continue serving, and I'm appointing Mr. Loeb to replace me as a standing member of that committee.
Is it too late to change my vote?
It's too late to change all right, with no further business on that item, we are going to now proceed with our annual ethics update. And our auspicious General Counsel, Mr. Rivera. Suspicious, auspicious. General Counsel is going to conduct our annual ethics update.
All right, good afternoon, Regents. There's been a lot of bragging going on today about you guys, and for good reason, because you try to do the right thing always, and that's noted, not just here, but everywhere. So thank you for letting me do this with you. I'm going to go through a lot of slides quickly. I promise I won't read every slide. You've seen some of them before. But you are committed once a year to doing a walkthrough or drive-by, however you want to call it, of your bylaws, specifically your code of ethics. I think it makes a difference. I really do, that you commit to spending a little bit of time once a year to reviewing them together, asking questions or not, but at least going through the process. Practice, 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 right? That's how you get to Carnegie Hall. So here we go. So again, there's the little history. And by the way, I keep these intact because every now and then, whenever I go to these attorney roundtables or I do presentations, people ask for, well, what do you present to your regents? And I'm able to send them this intact package of about 35 slides, 40 slides, and it's got information that's useful to them. So again, this is just the history. You've been doing this for more than 10 years, and it's been as the result of 2 different ad hoc committees, one in 2012 and then another one recently that did work, that puts you where you are today in terms of how you do an annual ethics review and update, and the different pledges that you sign, including the Statement of Ethical Conduct and your personal disclosure statement. You did this in 2021. This ad hoc committee was actually chaired by Regent Averett and included past Regent Susan Hutchinson and Dr. Lori Turner. You actually did a thorough review and came up with some updated rule changes, and that's the product that we have today. So why are ethics important? Why is it important for you to conduct a regular review of your ethics rules? Dr. George Boggs, who some of you have met, Dr. Escamilla I know knows him well. He's sort of a dean emeritus of community colleges. I actually got to see him when we were in Seattle. I went up to him and said hello, and I told him that I quote him every year when we do this annual ethics review. But he did a little book, Ethical Leadership in the Community College, about 15 years ago, and I like to always read these quotes, that leadership in our society is a privilege that enables the leader to impact both organizations and the lives of people, but it also carries many responsibilities. Perhaps the most important responsibility is to honor the public trust. It goes on to say that community colleges, for all the good that you do, for all the well-intentioned efforts that you undertake, you still have ethics lapses. And why do those happen and where do they come from? Well, maybe we can look at a couple of those this afternoon. He answers his own question this way. This is how you prevent it from happening. If you make ethical behavior a significant value, if you make it a significant value, then that's how you begin to embrace an ethical community, and that's how you, by leading by example, impress upon others the importance of being ethical. It is important to think seriously about ethical values before one is faced with difficult and ambiguous dilemmas that are all too common. Okay, so here's my roundup of recent headlines. This is why ethics are important. So beginning in December of 2023, feud between a president and a board chair goes nuclear at community college. Okay, February 24, investigation finds that trustee violated ethics rules. Board issues warning. Same month, report finds 2 trustees violated ethics rules. And by the way, I took out, the actual identifying names of the community colleges or trustees to protect the guilty. Community college teachers file ethics complaints over schools, $120,000 spent on casino lobbying. I thought you guys would like that one. In November, a state board probing former CC community college presidents' complaints against college board members. In December, college interim president's hiring of trustees' relative to buy a home raises conflict of interest concerns, you think? And then finally, community college faculty union votes no confidence in board. These are the kinds of headlines you never want to see, but these are real headlines that are afflicting community colleges throughout the country. The drama is played out in public view, which is never good. There's a damage to the functionality and the credibility of the board. Huge diversion of college time, resources, and attention, and ultimately damage to the reputation of the college. I read this to you last year from a study done by Deloitte recognizing significant risks facing higher ed. In the 24/7 news cycle where negative headlines score highly, higher ed institutions have frequently become the target. Schools can lose alumni and business relationships, brand favorability. Institutions with reputational awareness and control over their increasingly vast presence in the media can reduce the risk of damaging a reputation they have spent years building. As Benjamin Franklin said, it takes many good deeds to build a good reputation and only one bad one to lose it. So I'm going to go through these quickly, and this is, again, just to show you that from the authoritative bodies out there like ACCT or the Association of Governing Boards or SACS-COC, they all promote as best practices the same kinds of things that you should be looking at when setting ethical standards. Here's ACCT's Guide to Ethical Governance. They recommend that you adopt a set of standards. I think I've said this before. When I first did my very first panel presentation on good governance and ethics, it was in San Diego at ACCT. Dr. Escamilla, I think you were on it. We had Regent McCampbell, Regent Hutchison, Roberto Zarate from Alamo College. And I remember asking in the room, which was packed, how many of you have codes of ethics? And frankly, it wasn't, not everybody raised their hands. And it was sort of shocking to me. I mean, that they weren't aware, either they didn't know or they weren't, or they didn't have one. And that was concerning because all of the accreditation bodies, including ours, SACS-COC, require boards like yours to have codes of ethics. Here's AGB's. It's just an excerpt from the principles of trusteeship. Conduct yourselves with impeccable integrity. Principle 4 supports the fundamental function of leading by example. Act in the institution's best interests, putting it ahead of your personal preferences and political allegiances. Preemptively disclose conflicts, actual and perceived, and dualities of interest. Uphold the highest ethical standards. Easy to read, easy to understand, not always easy in practice, I get it. Here's SACS-COC's Principles of Accreditation, the one that applies to governing boards that was drilled in my brain early on by Dr. Escamilla. I've never forgotten it. That integral to strong governance is the absence of undue influence from external sources. That's what they look at. That's what they check. Dr. Sambi will tell you that that's actually, on the report card that you have to be graded on. So this all helps because you're building evidence. Whenever Dr. Sambi says, hey, Augie, can you give me, the dates when we did this? SACS-COC wants to know, here you go, here are the materials. Del Mar boards, good to go. And again, this is the other section, 4.2.b, that talks about the distinction between the policy-making function of the board and the responsibility of the administration and faculty to administer and implement that policy. You are a policy-generating board. That's what you do. That's your responsibility. You leave the running of the college up to the college president and the administration. This is from the Community College League of California Trustee Handbook. I can summarize all this by telling you that it says that ethics, that there are things that you do because they're legal, because you're required to do. Ethics always suggests that you do something because you ought to do it, even though you're not required to do it. So let's begin with the bylaws. I like reading the preamble because there was a lot of thought. Dr. Turner and Regent Averett, you'll remember that we actually put some thought into this, and this was, I explained to you, kind of an important tone-setting first part of your bylaws. You didn't have a preamble before, and now you do. And this introduces the bylaws. You explain that it provides the operational framework within which the board shall govern and act, as well as the aspirational and legal standards. Okay, identifying that there are two different ways of looking at this. There are those things that you have to do, and there are those things that you want to do and that you should do. Importantly, these bylaws include expectations of ethical behavior that are more than what is required by law. The Board of Regents acknowledges the profound importance of leading by example, and with these bylaws endeavors to cultivate a culture of exemplary ethics at Del Mar College. These are the sections. You've got your board duties and responsibilities, your statement of conduct and ethics, which we'll review. There are other sections regarding email and official communications, social media. Section 5, I'll have an excerpt from that on conflicts of interest and prohibited benefits, regent misconduct, board elections and appointments, board member training, officers, committees of the board, meetings, order of business, public comment, and rules of order. Finally, minutes of proceedings, rules of decorum, and amendment of the bylaws. Those are your table of contents. There's your statement of conduct and ethics. Attend and participate actively in board meetings. devote time, thought, and study to the duties of a board member in order to render effective and informed service, work with other board members to establish effective board policies, delegate authority for the administration of the college to the president and CEO of the college, and act on behalf of the board only with the official authorization of a majority of the members of the board. Make policy decisions only after full discussion at publicly held board meetings. Base all decisions on the available facts and independent judgment, free from any undue or improper influence, and abide by and uphold the final majority decision of the board. That probably tends to be a tricky area still for many boards. You know, where's the line there? I didn't agree with the majority of the board, and I want to continue to talk about it. Well, you do have First Amendment rights, but at some point, you're going to reach the point where you're now taking away or detracting or undermining what the board has done. Avoid during a pending bidding, solicitation, selection, or appointment process any communications with involved vendors, contractors, bidders, or applicants outside of the board-established process. The board chair or other designee will provide information or answer questions from the public about the process. And this has actually worked out well for all of you. I hope you feel like it has. It doesn't mean that the board doesn't provide information or, an answer to questions. That's what you have your board chair and your college president for. It just prevents all the cross, communication or the cross traffic of information going back and forth and avoids confusion, right? And manages expectations better. Recognize that the college adheres to the concepts of free speech and academic freedom, encourages the free expression of opinion by all board members, and seeks systematic communications between the board and students, faculty, staff, and the community, while refraining from communicating with students, staff, faculty, and the community in any way which could be interpreted as having any authority outside the meetings of the board, and refraining from any communication among a quorum of board members outside of the board meeting. That would not be legal. That would violate the Open Meetings Act if you did that, so don't do that. Communicate to other board members and the president and CEO of the college expressions of public reaction to board policies and college programs. Work with other board members and with the president and CEO in a spirit of harmony and cooperation and in a manner that creates and sustains mutual respect. Become informed about current educational issues by individual study and through participation in programs providing needed information, such as those sponsored by state and national community college organizations. I don't know what other boards do. I will tell you that for as long as I've had the privilege of representing the college, that the manner in which you all come back and brief each other on things that you have picked up from recent conferences is an excellent practice, and I think it's here. It's supported by this particular provision, but you all do it probably better than most, I think, from what I've seen, because I've had a chance to look at agendas of other boards, and so I think that's very helpful, not just for yourselves, so that you can share with each other what you've learned, but you're also sharing with the college community where it is that you go and what you pick up when you go there. Support the employment of those persons best qualified to serve as college faculty and staff. Insist on regular and impartial evaluation of all faculty and staff, and respect the authority and responsibilities of college employees and external contractors to empower them to work without interference. Remember always that the first and greatest priority must be the educational welfare of the students attending the college. I think by the visionary action that you all took this morning, that's exactly what you're doing. You're putting students first. Avoid real or apparent conflicts of interest and refrain from engaging in any activity that could create a conflict of interest. Refrain from using the board position for personal or partisan gain. Bring about desired changes through legal and ethical procedures. Work with other board members to establish effective policies and practices prohibiting all forms of unlawful discrimination, including harassment on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, all the different categories there. Refrain from any attempt to influence any operational decision. That means at the administrative level, included but not limited to individual admissions, personnel, or purchasing decisions, except when such is a legitimate issue at a board meeting. And no board member shall have any communications about a grievance or complaint with any person with a pending grievance or complaint. Again, identify any identify and disclose any actual or potential conflict of interest and act for the general public good, regardless of personal relationships or business interests, and refrain from suggesting or recommending subcontractors to vendors at any time. Encourage and engage in open and honest discussion in making board decisions, respect differences of opinion, and keep an open mind until each regent has had an opportunity to address the board. Refrain from accepting or soliciting any gift, favor, or service that might influence or appear to influence a regent in the performance of official duties. Importantly, maintain strict confidentiality of information that's either presented during the closed executive session, that's proprietary to the college, or that's about the college but not within the public domain. As fiduciaries of the college, that means you have a legal responsibility to keep this information confidential and not to disclose it or misuse it. Endeavor to avoid for a period of 1 year after leaving office both the possibility of conflict of interest and the appearance of such conflict that would arise if a former regent takes employment or enters into a business relationship with any vendor, contractor, company, or other individual or entity in a business relationship with a college. This is one where I would submit to you that you've gone aspirational and you think that your service on this board is so important that you all are willing to commit, if you were to leave tomorrow, that you wouldn't go out and join or be employed by a vendor or somebody that you all hired to avoid the appearance of impropriety. And I applaud you for that. I think that's great. Conduct with the assistance of the college's general counsel this annual ethics update that will include a review of your bylaws and statement of conduct and ethics. And afterwards, we've passed out the personal disclosure statement and your commitment to ethical conduct that we would ask that you please sign and return to me. Again, demonstrate a personal commitment to ethical conduct by doing all these three things. And that's what you do. This also provides for new regents or regents that are either elected or appointed to the board. They go through the same review. Okay, this is section 5, conflicts of interest and prohibited benefits. This goes over the specific laws that apply bribery under the penal code, bribery, abuse of office, conflicts of interest, and incompatibility of office. Again, you shall not accept or agree to accept any gift, favor, service, or benefit that you know or should reasonably know is offered with the intent to influence your decision or action, or may appear to influence your decision or action. Don't solicit, accept, or agree to accept any gifts, services, or other benefits from having exercised the powers and responsibilities of your official position. Here's some of the specifics about what you shall not accept gifts, either in kind or money from a vendor. It gives you the limits there on what you can't accept. When you do have a potential conflict of interest, there's a form that you will fill out. I also have a copy of that under Chapter 171, and that's posted on the website when you do have and again, a conflict of interest doesn't mean you can't serve as a regent. You can have a conflict of interest on an issue or in connection with a particular action, and you recuse yourself for that particular issue, and you let the other regents take care of the business. Okay, that was real fast and furious. Any questions? Again, you've had these before. We've gone over them. Like I say, I think doing it on an annual basis like this, I would encourage you to continue to do that. We're going to wrap up in a different way with you all get this trustee quarterly, right? I don't know if you've already seen this. You all get paper copies of this. That's your wonderful new chair, Rich Fukutaki, who's I think from the Pacific Northwest. He's on the cover, but this comes exactly right out of your most recent trustee quarterly. There's an article in there called Trustee Troubles, and I'm going to give you a summary. I'm not going to read it for you verbatim or go through it, but I thought it was an interesting take on different approaches to trusteeship that are not advisable. Okay. It's written by a couple of former trustees. They're Michiganders, Steve Robinson and Richard Schenk. 4 archetypal approaches to governance that can backfire for a board. They start off by referring to, or making reference to Terry O'Banion's book. I know Dr. Escamilla knows who Terry O'Banion was. For a while, he was on the circuit about 10 years ago. And he wrote a book called The Rogue Trustee. And it was based on interviewing, I think, 59 CEOs from across the country, all who were able to give him information confidentially. And it came into, he produced a book out of it. And none of you are rogue trustees. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay, you're not, because rogue trustees, act for their own good. They're a pain in the butt, to put it mildly. At board meetings or out in public, they don't do public service as much as they do self-service, and there are examples of that. But you guys do not even come close. But the two gentlemen who wrote the article referred to the rogue trustee and the book that O'Banion wrote, but O'Banion also noted that the overwhelming majority of community college trustees are excellent and effective citizen leaders who are committed to governing the college to ensure that students in the local community are well served by a functioning institution. So there's a lot going on there. Not only are you committed to doing things for students in the community, but you're also committed to making sure that your institution is functional as opposed to dysfunctional. So the more common problem in the end is the well-meaning trustee, that well-intentioned trustee who approaches service with an inappropriate model of what it means to serve. So let's look at a few of these. The first is trustee as legislator. Okay, so many of you are elected and see yourselves as elected legislators. How do I get my agenda passed? How do I represent my constituents, Because for those of you who have been up to the Hill, that's what, members of Congress are all about. It's about, their agenda and their constituents and their particular little niche. It's a little different here, right? I mean, you're serving the community. Focuses on individual interests instead of a larger college and community good. The legislator model can also confuse communications with the public because any member of Congress will get up and, they're all lined up around in the rotunda, right? They're giving interviews nonstop. Here, if you all were to do that, it would confuse the public as to, well, wait a minute, are they speaking for the board? Is that, it can get confusing. So that's the trustee as legislator approach that is not very productive. The next is trustee as ombudsman. Trustees see themselves as problem solvers and want to help students, employees, vendors, and community members with complaints that really should be handled by college staff and processes. As you know, as I've cautioned you before, getting personally involved in a dispute at the college can create liability for you individually once you inject yourself into that, and obviously it can interfere with the college process. Individual board members should not direct president or staff unless authorized by appropriate board action, that is a majority of the vote. And that went to one of the items that you specifically had in your bylaws, in your code of ethics, where you really shouldn't, no one should speak for the board unless authorized to do so by the board. Next is trustee as opposing counsel. So we're a little formal here, right? And this is sort of my area and Mr. Kelly's area. We know what it's like to be in the courtroom. And sometimes a trustee thinks that they have to get to the bottom of things or really find out what's going on. And so you get an adversarial hearing where trustees will use cross-examination techniques to impeach and question instead of to inquire and verify. Again, you all don't do that, you're good, but some trustees have a problem doing that. You do have the important duty of oversight. I mean, Dr. Escamilla would be the first to say, ask me the tough questions. Let's talk about it. But college employees are not hostile witnesses, and everybody is literally on the same team. There should be no us versus them. It fosters an environment of animosity and distrust. And finally, the last archetype that these two gentlemen thought that were not advisable ways to approach trusteeship is a trustee as a dean or director, where a trustee takes a special interest in an area or department for either a personal reason. I really, I love engineering, so I want to go in and, find out all there is to do about it. Or I'm a lawyer and tell me what's going on in the paralegal program. How more involved can I get? And you get to the point where you kind of cross the line and you attempt to insert yourself in the management of the program. Number one, that's micromanagement, and number two, that's not why you're here. Or you have a business savvy trustee who wants to help with contract negotiations, and it's just not effective for a trustee to unduly interfere with the college's business relationships, no matter how well-intentioned. So you got to be careful in understanding your role, and every one of you do. And again, I didn't bring these up to suggest that this applied to any of you. I just thought it was interesting that here, as I'm doing my annual ethics review in your, this is a topic that it's always germane, it's always relevant, and you can never talk enough about. All right, finally, so you don't need to go any further than your own strategic plan. Dr. Villarreal, does this look familiar? So I thought we'd finish up with the values of the Viking Way to show that we do have a commitment to ethics that comes straight out of the strategic plan. The Viking Way includes integrity, operating with openness and honesty in all endeavors at the college. Courage, the willingness to take on challenges and overcome barriers. Resourcefulness, using all that we have and committing all that we are to ensure student success. Community, the people we commit to serving through access and equity. Empathy, to respect and honor the experience of others. And tradition, the shared legacy of the people at Del Mar College who have learned, taught, and charted the Viking Way. The Viking Way is a code of ethics. Bottom line, that's what it is in its most simplest form, and it's proof to me that y'all are doing something right to help inspire the rest of us to lead an ethical way. Barbara Jordan continues to be one of my all-time favorite heroes, and I love to quote her, and so I'll leave you with this. This is for her, for the Honorable Barbara Jordan, ethics was real simple. It was being honest, telling the truth, and doing what you said you would do. I think if you do all of those things always, or at least try to, then you'll be okay. All right, that was my very quick run-through or drive-by ethics. Any questions? All right, thank you all very much. Until next year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rivera.
You're welcome.
The board members know that, but we know that we can also call upon Mr. Rivera if we have individual questions or as things arise. If there's clarification that is needed, the board reaches out to him on a regular basis. We do. And so there's no action item out of that update today. We did close session during our morning workshop today, so we don't have any other agenda items. Our calendar is on the desk. If we look at our calendar for the next couple of months, hope everyone, students and faculty and staff, all have a phenomenal spring break. You all work very hard, and I hope you get to have a few days of relaxation and sunshine somewhere. In April, our board meeting will go back to the second Tuesday of the month, as is our normal practice. It'll be on Tuesday, April the 8th. Our White Library grand opening is going to be on Thursday the 10th at 1 p.m., so I hope you all get that on your calendar. And then we have our annual awards service, our employee service awards, on Friday, April 25th. May board meeting on the 13th, and spring graduation, we're already talking about spring graduation, is going to be on Friday the 16th. With no other items to come before the board. Oh, yes, sir.
Just a quick notice. I mean, obviously, furniture has been installed, long coming. I want to just talk a little bit about that. This is the first time I saw it today, and it was just recently installed. Thanks to John and the team for being responsive to the comfort needs of our staff. I think there's still some opportunities out there with some newer chairs in the back rows. I want to thank Dean Stramick for making those faces at me and prompting me to ask the question, "Are y'all comfortable?" She says, "No, we're not." Anyway,
we're not.
We're not. But it's not a small matter. It's an improvement. It's very purposeful. And I appreciate the team that put these things in place for the improvement of our boardroom for doing the business of the college. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the fact that you all can continue to do some business, answer emails, and do other things, and I know that's what you do when you're there, and I think that's great, because I know that there's a lot that goes on, and having all of you sit for a couple of hours in front of us is productive for you, because you can hear what's going on, but you can also still work a little bit while you're doing it, so.
We had a conversation about that. We know everybody's busy doing multitasking and so forth, so we encourage that and support that.
All right, well, with no further business, our meeting is adjourned at 2:45 p.m.